Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on episode 36, season 5 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday throughout the Pacific Championship. Evening, Richie. First of all, welcome back. Week 2 of the internationals offered some more closer matches, but ultimately Australia were just too strong yet again, with both sides securing places in the upcoming finals. How are you, and how was your weekend?
Good, thanks, mate. Yep, good to be back. I find it works better if you turn up the start time, not after you guys have just capped off the broadcast, as I did last week. I was disappointed to miss out on chatting with everybody, but weekend was good. I enjoyed the league. Not a lot of the results went the way I would have wanted, with Kiwis and Samoa losing, but other than that, I enjoyed it. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. I enjoyed the footy. Watched all of the games. Fiji and that were a bit harder with technical difficulties, but the 2 games in Christchurch looked like a great atmosphere. Really had a bit of FOMO watching everyone there enjoying it, and Millie played well. So we'll talk about that in a bit.
It only took 1 minute.
1 minute, yeah. I was trying to record. But yeah, while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of the week 2 international results. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as questions we're prepared for each other, before ending the night with a preview of week 3 of the internationals. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump into it, Richie.
Sounds good.
I thought there wasn't going to be too much news, but then they kind of snowboarded today. And there's one.
Snowboarded?
Snowballed.
Since when is that? Snowballed, maybe. Yeah, snowboarded. Yeah.
I'm just trying to add new words to my repertoire. It didn't work. But yeah, Simon's here. We'll freestyle it here, and we'll go with his one because I forgot to.
I was going to say, you know Shakespeare, writing new language.
Yeah, I'm trying. But yeah, Simon's here, and he said he sees the Kangaroos tour next year to the UK. The biggest open secrets they announced this week. Yeah, so they announced we've all kind of talked about it for quite a while, but Kangaroos are the next team to go up and challenge England. It's good. I don't really have much more to add. We've kind of talked about it at depth already, but any thoughts on it, Richie?
I think given what I saw from England on the weekend, I think that's quite an exciting prospect. I think England's lineup's shaping up quite nicely and got quite a lot of talent, so I think that'll be a good series.
Yeah, and I would actually be quite excited about the Pacific Championship without Australia in it, due to them usually being the fan base and the team that cares least about it, having New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa. I think you get some decent crowds. I assume that would all probably be played in New Zealand too, unless they do want to decide to take them across to the islands. But they generally seem to get good crowds at Mount Smart when they play there. So we'll get more details on that when we get closer to it, I guess. But we'll move on to what was my first news story, which was the Ben Hunt update. I had to delete everything I put in that I sent to you, mate, because it changed today. So Shane Flanagan came out a few days ago and said he expects Ben Hunt to be there in 2025 and as he's contracted, and that's how it's going to be. And then they announced today that the Dragons have released him from his contract effective immediately. And he's free to move to another club. The Dolphins CEO came out today and said that he is interested in sitting down and chatting with him. The Broncos are still an option depending on what happens with Ezra Mam. I think I did see that the Bulldogs apparently have pulled out of the race. But yeah, thoughts on Ben Hunt? He finally got his wish.
Yeah, he did. I heard that the Dolphins are a pretty strong chance as well. I think that'd be a nice little fit there. Not too keen on seeing him go to the Broncos, but that's we all know what I'm like with the Broncos, but yeah, definitely makes things interesting. With the with all the transfers happening now, it's heating up.
Yeah, which your question, spoilers for later, your question revolves around that. But yeah, we're not far away from crazy season when it hits November 1st. But yeah, I think the Dolphins would be a good team. We talked, I think it might have been just Paul and myself last week, or it might have been the week before when we talked about Katoa with Tonga, but how he's got the potential to do really well as a half, but he's still just inexperienced. Having a guy like Ben Hunt come in to help him, at the moment he's got Cody Nikarima as his guy to lean on, which, no disrespect to Nikarima, but I'd probably prefer to have a guy like Ben Hunt who's been around the block. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm sure we'll hear something before the show next week about anyone seriously firming up, but yeah, we'll keep our ear to the ground. We'll go to the Josh Adokar update now. After no team seeming to be interested in picking him up, after the Bulldogs were willing to let him speak to other teams, seems like they've all backed off until they've seen what's going to actually happen. The Bulldogs have apparently issued him with a notice to show cause. He'll have to front the board this Thursday, so tomorrow, with the likely outcome being his firing. So it's interesting. I feel the way it would have worked potentially is if another team was interested and they grabbed him now, they probably could have got him for cheaper because the Bulldogs may have had to pay part of his salary. But if they fire him, they don't have to pay any of it. But I think if you fire them, his money still gets like allotted to your salary cap.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it, but I think that's how it works. So it is a loss for the Bulldogs. They probably would have preferred to have paid just part of his money to go elsewhere. But what do you reckon? Do you think he's done? Well, I think he's done at the Doggies, but if no one's interested, do you see him ending up potentially a Super League casualty?
I think his days as a Doggy are definitely numbered. I think he's still too good a player to wind up just going to Super League. I mean, that may be the case, but surely there's an NRL club that throws him a lifeline.
Yeah, no, there's a bit of, I've got a news story a little bit later about the Dragons, but I know the Dragons apparently are interested, but they're also interested in a certain fullback from Parramatta.
Yeah.
So I think it all depends on what happens there, on if they're actually interested. I'm sure someone will pick him up. It's just, I think they're waiting to see, if he does get fired and he has no options, he'll be more likely to take a smaller paycheck. So it's all gambling from the clubs, trying to see how much money they can save on a potential superstar winger that they could have, as long as they've got someone that can sort him out off the field, I guess.
Yeah.
I did see Wayne Bennett said there was no interest from the Rabbits, because I think everyone, when there's a problem child, they want to give them to Daddy Wayne to sort out. But he said there's no interest from his team. And Raymond Christensen is on. He said, if I'm Rugby Australia, I'm signing Adokar. Yeah, if no NRL team wants him, I'm pretty sure Australia Rugby would be interested in picking him up if they've got the money. I know they're throwing a lot of money at Joseph. Paul might be able to answer that a bit better. He might know the bank balance of Australia Rugby better than us.
Piss poor.
But yeah, that is always an option too. But yeah, we'll see. Since they're doing the board meeting tomorrow, we should have a definite outcome by next Wednesday, so we can talk about it more there, unless you've got something else you want to add, Richie.
No, I'm happy.
Right. Next update, Ezra Mam. You weren't here last week for the Ezra Mam news.
No.
So before I go in, do you want to give your 2 cents?
On Ezra Mam, I think they should fire him.
Right. So Broncos coach Madge Maguire has said it's too early to determine whether Ezra Mam will be sacked after his car crash, and has stated that redemption is still possible for the young player if he owns up to his actions leading to the incident. He could also be the first player penalised under the new NRL sanctioning system. This is a bit of a mouthful, so bear with me. that will be independent of the governing body. The old way saw the integrity unit propose a sanction once relevant details have been tested in court. The new process the NRL are trying to finalise will see an independent legal rep investigate the allegations, make findings, and then propose any punishment based on the in-house sanctioning matrix currently used by the integrity unit. That's a lot.
What does that mean?
I think it's basically they're going to have a lawyer that does all the research and then says, this is what you're going to do, as opposed to waiting, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. I was meant to throw it in here, but I did see another report from Australia where they said it looks fairly certain that he won't get fired and that he won't get deregistered by the NRL, but he will face a lengthy suspension.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess that's the least he should get, really. I mean, it just wasn't a great look in the days that followed after the incident. Little bits and pieces were coming out. The injuries the child suffered in the crash. It's just not a great look for Ezra.
Yeah, I think though, if you fire him, say the Broncos sack him, and then he gets signed by the Dragons because the Dragons need a half now, then it's like, well, did he get punished at all? You know, if he just gets getting fired, it's not ideal. And going to the now favourites for the 2025 Wooden Spoon, the Dragons.
I want the Broncos to get the punishment.
Yeah,
that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah. See, look at that one news article, Paul, and we've got both of our bias against teams already on display.
Yeah. No, I just thought I'd throw out there that I'll be looking at punishing the outcome rather than actually the action here with this. And is it because of what happened rather than actually what he did that you're looking at the punishment that you're thinking about?
It's always what happens with the NRL. I haven't been able to confirm it, but it sounded like the Australian police aren't going to lay any charges on him either, which I thought was crazy. Like an unlicensed driver crashing into a car and causing bodily harm, and you get no charge at all. So I'm hoping that's a misprint, because he should, at worst case, get a massive fine, right?
Yeah, you would think.
Oh, I get a fine if I go a little bit too fast. So the special treatment. I need to be a pro footy player, man. But yeah, next bit, we were just talking about Dragons. The Dragons have also they're ready to offer Clint Gutherson a 3-year contract. Really hopeful that contract can start in 2025. And there are a lot of rumors in Australia that King Gutho may have played his last game for the Eels. That the Eels may be willing to just let him go straight away. Bit of a sad ending to Clint Gutherson at the Eels, but kind of happens sometimes when you've got a new coach coming in with a new mindset and a new way of how he wants the team to perform. Sometimes players just aren't what you want. So Dragons would it'd be a good replacement for Zach Lomax going out.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Brad. I think it would be a sad way to end his career with the Eels. He's been the heartbeat of that club for a number of years now, so it's tough to picture him moving on, but that's pro sport. It's cutthroat. Like you say, with the new incoming coach, you don't always get your fairy tale finish.
Yeah, and I'll talk about it. I'm moving it forward. We'll talk about it now. Ryan Pappenhausen's not accepted the Storm's contract offer yet and looks set to test the market on the 1st of November. As always, the Dragons are interested in him too. So there's a possibility that Clint Gutho might get his contract offer taken away if the Dragons can lure Ryan there. But a lot of movement in outside backs at November 1st this year.
I saw a post from Ryan Pappenhausen on Instagram not long before jumping on tonight, and he had a couple of fans heckling him in the comments saying that the club looked after him for 2-3 years when he was out injured most of the time. He should just take a pay cut, and he bit back told them to be quiet. It was quite fun.
Yeah. I can see their argument, but also if you put it into your situation, if your work came to you and said you had too many sick days this year, mate, we want to cut your pay, you wouldn't be happy. But yeah, it's apples and oranges when you're talking about professional sport. But he's had a lot of injuries. You don't know how long your career is going to go for. So I don't blame him for looking for a bigger piece of the pie while he can get it.
Definitely.
As long as he's not taking that big piece of the pie from us. I'd rather use that money elsewhere. But we'll move on. John Bateman has denied reports that he will not return to the Tigers in 2025, saying that he has 2 years left and he is going back. But there's also been heavy rumours coming out of Australia that Benji does not want him back, and the and the club's trying to move him to another club. So interesting times.
It's not all right between Bateman and the Tigers, is it? There's a bit of friction there for sure.
No, letting him go to the Super League on like a loan deal just to get rid of him was, kind of telling.
Yeah,
he's not necessarily just a bit part player. He's meant to be a key player in their forward pack. So to let him go, really, you're staring down the barrels of another wooden spoon. But he may have helped you squeak into second to last, maybe, if he was playing right. Simon says he's guessing John might be homesick again. He's currently still over there. I think he's got that asterisk next to him, which would prevent other teams wanting to take him off the Tigers' hands potentially. That, at the drop of a hat, he might, say, no, I want to go back to England again. So time will tell what happens there. But yeah, it seems like Benji is trying to do what the Eels are doing and set what he wants, but he's got to fight with the always complicated Tigers board to get what he wants. The NRL is also rumoured to be looking at cutting the bunker off from intervening when a player stays down for a penalty. Something we've talked about a bit that we'd like to see happen. But they want the on-field referee to contact the bunker to get involved instead of the bunker just taking it on their own. So if the ref's confident that he knows what's going on, they don't want the bunker to come in and change the decision, which I think could. It's like all things when it comes to the bunker. We're happy with this now until it happens in a moment where the ref goes, I've made the right decision, and doesn't let the bunker get involved when clearly he missed something. But
yeah,
that's always going to happen.
I was just going to say, I'm a fan of scaling down bunker involvement where we're not necessary, and I'm sure I'll be happy enough with it until I see it work against the Warriors, and then I'll be spewing, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Simon said, when is AI and ChatGPT going to take over the bunker? I don't know. I'd like to say I always try to trust humans better than AI, but when it comes to that bunker, it sometimes feels like they've got their eyes blindfolded and thrown at a dartboard. So,
especially one Miss Badger.
So yeah, time will tell. I know there was talk. We talked about it. It feels like a month ago now that one of the big things in the off season for the NRL is looking into the whole officials bunker everything, and hopefully not changing a whole lot of rules. Hopefully getting rid of some that they brought in that haven't really done anything exciting. But yeah, we'll probably have more of that in season 6 when we start back up again next year. So we'll move on again, mate. Alfie Langer, being the 14th man on the Broncos team for some time now, running around in the back of the field. He has reportedly been axed from that role as a Broncos on-field trainer and moved into a corporate ambassador role instead. So Madge has gone through the Broncos with an axe and potentially getting rid of all the Walters supporters that are still there, maybe.
Yeah. And I saw there were at least a couple of ex-Broncos players not too happy with that.
Yeah, I know you don't care because it's the Broncos. it'd be a shame not seeing that guy running around out there. I feel like he's got a lot of experience to help the Broncos, but yeah, it is what it is. Madge has got to do things his way if he wants to be successful, because ultimately it's his head on the line if things don't go right.
For sure.
And then I've got a couple of retirements. Matt Moylan and Kevin Nakwama have both announced their retirements. Kevin was happy to announce his retirement after finishing his final game in Fiji, playing for Fiji, so he was very happy there. And Matt Moylan, to be honest, I actually forgot he hadn't retired yet. But yeah, both had varying careers, some ups, some downs. But good luck to them with whatever they're doing next.
Yep.
You got any thoughts on Matty and Kevin?
No, it's kind of to be expected, I suppose. But yeah, well done on good careers for both of them.
All right, and now I've got a mouthful again. The last bit of news before we get into signings, and I haven't seen Jacko here yet, so we might get it in before he turns up. Super League update. Wakefield will replace the London Broncos in the 2025 Super League, and the gradings have been completed. I've still got it here. I have a 4-page explanation of the Super League gradings that I've tried to condense down into one sentence. So there was a lot of reading for me this week, and apologies if it goes a bit too far, but
my God, research and planning. Wow, prep.
I'm always doing it. It's not all just searching for Millie Boyle posters for our promotions. I have a massive list of there's a massive list of reasons for how gradings are given, but basically there are 5 sections, which are fandom, which is like attendance, memberships, performance on the field, club finances, stadium, and community. So each of those had like a massive page. But yeah, that's basically what it is. 9 teams have received an A grade, which is Wakefield, as Simon's just mentioned, who have just been brought up, St. Helens, Wigan, Leeds, Warrington, Hull KR, Catalans, Lee, and Castleford. So they all have A grade, which is the top grade you can get. Hull FC, Uddersfield, and Salford receive the highest B grades, and they will join the A grade teams in 12-team Super League comp next year. So Super League is Wakefield, St. Helens, Wigan, Leeds, Warrington, Hull KR, Catalans, Lee, Castleford, Hull FC, Huddersfield, and Salford. So that are the teams playing in that next year. And apparently the London Broncos just missed out on staying in with their grading. They were like a B, but their B wasn't as good as Salford's, basically. I don't know how it's going to work. But yeah, and Simon said you can lose your Category A. Looks like, for example, Hull FC, you have to keep trying to get yourself Category A every year. Yeah, so Hull FC were a Category A and they've been downgraded because they were second to last in the comp. They were almost wooden spoon if London weren't there. So you've got to keep going. I guess it's an interesting way of doing it. It's how they do it, but...
So that was what they were downgraded on? Performance?
I'd say so.
Because they finished quite low?
Yeah, because apparently their money, like their finances are actually reasonably well, being in London and whatnot, and all that side of things were good. But the fact that I think they won like 3 games, 3 or 4, yeah. I can't remember what it was at the end, kind of doesn't help you. But then Hull FC won the same amount of games. It was points differential that kept them second to last. But... Yeah, I know Simon mentioned it last week about the gradings were coming out, so I wrote it down. I was like, I've got to make sure I find out what the gradings are. So yeah, that's it. We'll leave it there because we could sit here for hours for a thing that only Simon and I seem to talk about. So we'll move on to signings, mate.
Yeah.
Before that, Christopher is on and said, I really hope they don't expand Super League unless it was like the second French team, I think. Needs to increase quality, not quantity. Yeah. Apparently Toulouse were close as well to getting into the Super League again with their gradings. But yeah, they've got to get it better before they start trying to blow it out. You know, you got to make it a good product before you decide to grow it. You know, we're seeing that right now with the NRL, with how serious they're taking expanding, rejecting everyone that's coming in, because they want to make sure they do it right. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'd just be happy to see it on Sky again, so you don't have to pay a subscription here to watch it. But yeah, signings, mate. Mike Acevo has left the Eels, and he'll join his former coach Brad Arthur at the Leeds Rhinos on a 3-year deal. I think that's great. He'll kill it for Leeds over there, and it's again part of the clean out process that the Eels are doing at the moment. So makes sense for both parties, I think.
Yeah, he was try scoring wise. He was still killing it. I think his strike rate this year was incredible. I think it was quite a few more tries than it was games played. I guess it's just all the other areas of his game. But you're right. He will kill it over there.
They got Zach Lomax to put on the wing there now, though, so it makes sense.
Not if you ask Zach.
Sam Walker, that hasn't been officially announced, I don't think, but it sounds like he signed a new massive deal with the Roosters. I tried to get confirmation before we went on, but I couldn't see it. So we'll talk about that more next week if it's actually confirmed. Then we got extensions. Paul Alamotti has extended his stay with the Panthers until at least the end of 2027. I think that's great for him. He kind of went there on a hope and a prayer, and has really excelled in his first stint with them. You know, getting to that grand final and that. So happy to see that for him. Tane Tuapiki has extended his stay with the Warriors until the end of 2026, which I think is great for us as Warriors fans. He was one of those players I was worried they would lose. If he's at the point where he thinks he's going to be stuck in New South Wales Cup for most of his career, he may have jumped ship, especially when you see the likes of a lot of teams looking at the fullbacks running around. So he could have got a deal, but happy to see him stay. And the Knights have extended Brady Jones on a 1-year deal to the end of 2025. So, all good. Yeah, all happy with those decisions. Injury ward, your one will say none, but there is one. We had an update today that Cameron Murray has injured his wrist in Kangaroos camp. He requires surgery and could be out for an extensive period of time, with some reports saying 5 months. So don't know what he was doing in camp with his wrist, but he needs to work on it. Paul's shaking his head. I saw it. I got you, Paul. But that's going to be tough for the Rabbits starting the season if he's going to miss. I think 5 months from now he won't miss a lot of the season, but he'll miss the first couple of weeks, I'd imagine. Yeah. If my maths is right. Naughty Boy Corner, there was nothing really. A couple of fines. That was it. I think Lindsay Collins got a fine for his head high, which I think is a bit unfair. He was tackling Kinney, who's like comes up to his waist. It's hard. So we'll move on to the games. You weren't here last week, but we don't really do a big review on the women's. We just describe the scores. I've thrown the UK result in there too, but we can give any thoughts on it. So we start with the Jillaroos defeating the Kiwi Ferns 14-0. Jillaroos still haven't conceded a point in this competition yet, which is a crazy stat. Millie Elliott got player of the match, which I sent to you and Ruin Hammer after it happened. But it was a very entertaining game. Their defense is something special. They were tested a lot more with the ball in hand than they were the week before. But thought it was a very enjoyable game. And then Fiji defeated Cook Islands 18-6. This one was the first where I knew we were getting trouble with technical difficulties because it was really hard to watch. But thought it was a solid outing from Fiji and Cook Islands. Any thoughts on the women's games before I move on to that embarrassment you call Samoa?
Thanks, Brad. I didn't watch the Fiji Cook Islands game. I did watch the Kiwi Ferns Jillaroos. I just thought the Jillaroos were way too controlled. They held the ball. They seemed to hold the ball for most of the time I was watching it. I was losing count of the number of repeat sets They just seem to be dominating the ball and forcing goal line dropouts. And our line dropouts weren't the greatest too. They were going 25, 30 meters, and then they're just right back on the attack again. So I thought for the amount of ball Belarus had, the Kiwi Prince defended pretty well to keep them to 14. But the Belarus defense was just rock solid as well.
Yeah. And then, UK Monday, so Labor Day for us. England defeated Samoa 34-18. I think there was a comment from Simon earlier on who said it was half a day later that he found out that Sky Sport actually had the game on. I actually thought the same, that it wasn't going to be on. It was going to be on their streaming service instead of Sky. And then I saw on Facebook somewhere that they said that Sky was putting it on. So I checked, saw it was there, and woke up at the ungodly hour to watch it. Wasn't overly impressed. I was really hoping for Samoa to get the job done, but England were just too strong, and Samoa just too error-riddled and ill-disciplined, basically. It felt like the old Kiwis days where the Kiwis would lose, but they always, they won the fights, basically. They put the big hits on and they hurt the other team, but they lost the result. It felt like that with Samoa, where they're more interested in the big hits and like starting little biffs than actually trying to win the game, which hopefully is a lesson they've learned for this week.
Hopefully. England just looked too polished. I thought Samoa looked good when Luai was threatening, but the play that summed it up for me, I think in the second half, Samoa made a break down the left touch, and Jarrell Skelton just needed to do a nice draw and pass on the inside. And instead, he tries a sort of double pump and then overhand pass inside, which he just threw at the feet. I think Samoa's got the talent to do it, but they'll want to clean up areas like that this coming week.
Yeah. So let's get into the Pacific Internationals down in here, starting on Saturday night with Fiji beating Cook Islands 56-6.
Yeah, this is.
I'll just sit here while you go through all these names.
Bear with me. The try scorers, it's 10 tries to 1. So for Fiji, we had Sunia Taruva had 1. Michael Jennings had a hat trick. Katoni Kautonga, Semi Valame had 2. Ben Nakabuai and Mike Asivo had 2. And for Cook Islands, Rua Natikura, he was the first try scorer going over from dummy half.
Yeah. So I've already just mentioned it. You agreed. So thankfully it wasn't just me, but there were a lot of technical difficulties trying to watch this game, which made it a bit brutal. But Fiji was just too strong here. They made way too many errors themselves, but they countered that with so many strike weapons all over the park. It's ridiculous, the firepower they have in their backline. It was unlocked due to their forward pack bullying the Cook Islands as well. Need the Cook Islands to get a massive upset this week if they wish to reach the promotion relegation match. But if that doesn't happen, at least they finish the tournament with a big win in front of their home crowd.
Yeah, I thought it was a good, solid outing from Fiji in front of their home fans in Suva. On paper, they had far too many threats across the park for Cook Islands. They were able to put a good score on, which you probably expect them to in this fixture. Some lovely tries scored too. Michael Jennings is a bit of Michael Jennings of old on display. Yeah.
Definitely. And your thoughts on the Cook Islands?
Like I said, they had a bright start with the first try of the game. Not much else went right for them from then on. They did manage to get over the line once more, but dropped the ball over the line. Overall, just outmatched here and couldn't foot it with their more fancied opponents. It just didn't have the roster to compete.
Yeah, I've got the exact same thing. Cook Islands just don't have the squad to be competitive, unfortunately, and it showed here. Did score first, as you said, but after that, it was all downhill. They struggled to build any attack with shocking hands, and the lack of go forward with their forwards average. Their sets, they average 29 meters a set. which you're not going to put any pressure on an opponent like that. Could be in for another heavy defeat this week against Papua New Guinea. But like all these international sides, they just need more games so they can build combinations, as playing 2 games a year is not going to make them competitive. And yeah, Simon said Cook Islands is a very small island. Yeah, and unfortunately some of their really good players played the next day in a Kiwis jersey. So, Chance has represented them, but once the Kiwis were interested in him again, he jumped ship back. Just fair, he was born here, so I'm not throwing shade at him, but it'd be good to see if Cook Islands could get that same passion from the big names that are in the NRL to come back to them, like you see with Samoa and Tonga. But at the moment, they are the ugly stepchild when it comes to the Pacific teams. So they don't, you're not going to hear the Cook Islands are getting an England tour like you saw with Tonga and Samoa. So I can see the desire to play for Tonga and Samoa, or even Fiji to a lesser extent, than over Cook Islands, where Cook Islands have these 2 games and that's it. So it all comes back to we need more internationals, but you're trying to throw everything into a small period of time. But yeah, it's disappointing. I like the Cook Islands.
Yeah.
We picked the both same guy. In around might be done, but our hat trick rule still seems to be in effect. Going with Michael Jennings as my player to stand out. You picked him too, right? I'm not.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're not imagining it. It. I did put him there. I was tempted by Tane Mill. I thought playing in the forwards out on an edge, he went quite well, and he goal kicked really well as well. But
Jennings position for him, mate. They need to put him in the forwards in the NRL.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think that's a good shout. But Jennings was on fire, so had to go with him.
Yeah, and Paul said Michael Jennings top fantasy with 86 points. So yeah, continuing our trend from the season of just going with fantasy, man. But yeah, as you said, it looked like the Jennings of old. So yeah, thought it was great for him. So we move on to the main game of the weekend. Kangaroos defeating the Kiwis 22-10.
Yeah, this try scorer list is a bit easier to go through. So 4 tries to 2 for the Kangaroos. Lindsay Collins, Zach Lomax with 2, and Mitch Moses for the Kiwis, Jermaine Isako and Will Wilbert.
Man, that Lomax still thinks he's not a winger, eh? He keeps doing everything to prove that he is.
I know.
I wasn't convinced about the Kangaroos last week. You wouldn't have seen it. I was a bit dirty on them despite their win. But they did show improvement here. Was a tough battle with the Kiwis, and they survived many attempts at their line with some stern defence, which I think was the most impressive aspect of their performance. And they just capitalised on more opportunities than their New Zealand counterparts, being dangerous whenever they got the ball out to the edges, to their big weapons. I don't know if you felt it, but when I was watching it here with my partner, every time it went out to Tommy Turbo, it was like, oh, no, here we go. And I was panicking just because they're so dangerous there. It's still not the polished performance we've come to expect from Australia, but you can't argue with their results going two in a row. And Paul said Kiwis led all run meters, post-contact meters, tackle breaks, average set distance, and kick return meters. Yeah, they did it. So the Australia they took the most of their opportunities, as I said. They got a week to rest up before the final, which could be the key to success for them. And Kangaroos led line breaks, which is, what kind of sealed the fate. But your thoughts on the Kangaroos?
Yeah, I thought it was a good performance from the Kangaroos. Definitely a little more polished than the week before. I thought their forwards were matched by the Kiwis. That's probably backed up by a lot of the stats Paul's just listed there. But yeah, the Kangaroos have star power from 1 to 17, and as you said, Brad, definitely a lot more clinical with their chances. Maybe with Angus Crichton dropping the ball over the line. That aside, they took their chances better than we did, and that was the difference. Yeah,
my partner, she was late coming here for the game, so that try that got disallowed had already happened by the time she got here, and I got to explain that to her, and she didn't understand why someone would make a mistake like that. But he's not the first and he won't be the last. Your thoughts on the Kiwis?
I thought for their first hit out, I thought they did pretty well. In my opinion, the Fords laid a pretty good platform, and we had a good amount of possession and territory. But unlike the Kangaroos, we didn't capitalize on as many chances. I thought the debutants were quite good. In particular, Keeney was very good, and hopefully we grow and show some improvement against Tonga, and we're able to take a few more opportunities.
Yeah, I've kind of got very similar to what you've said. They were up for the fight, the Kiwis, but they were just rusty. The forwards were outstanding up front, including a surprising stint from Nafamu White. Butchered his name, I'm sure. Some great efforts from the backs too, although we can argue about this later if you don't agree, but the decision to move CNK to 6 didn't work for me, as having SJ being the only kicker made the attack too predictable. There was even a set where he got tackled on the 4th, and they didn't know what to do on the 5th, and they were just running around like headless chickens because there was no one else on the field that would kick. So Stacey we'll talk about it in the team list later. He is stuck with Chance at 6, so hopefully we see more of Magic Round 6 Chance this week than last week's version. But yeah, the attack was super predictable. They were camped on the Kangaroos line multiple sets without a reward. Stacey's first night at coach left a few question marks for me around his use of the bench, as I would have liked to have seen him bring Cody Nikorima on sooner than he did. He gave him 10 minutes at the end, which didn't really help. I think his injection a little bit earlier could have sparked something, potentially. But, yeah, you live and learn on those things. But, yeah, I think good lessons overall for him and the team to learn. And on to a big must-win match against Tonga this week. Your player to stand out?
I went Harry Grant, actually. I thought Harry Grant was... you said you were on edge whenever you saw the ball go out wide to those big Aussie threats out wide. I felt on edge whenever they got a quick play of the ball and Harry Grant spotted a marker out of place. He just went all day and had some really, made some good inroads out of dummy, set up a try. I thought he was just at his best.
Yeah, he was good. I wanted to see him get smashed when he was laughing during the haka, though.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted that. I actually went with the losing team. I went with Kino Kinney. I was really impressed with how he went out there in his debut. Was quite electric. Could be a big star for the Kiwis for years to come. And for the Titans, obviously. But, yeah, I was very impressed with him. I just didn't want to give it to Harry. And Paul said White topped the fantasy with 61 for the Kiwis, and Isaiah Yeo topped for the Kangaroos with 60. So it was really close, and we went with neither of them. So
no. How good was Warbrick's try too? The footwork he put on Lomax.
It was good. That was the moment we see that Lomax isn't a winger. So he had that. But yeah, so that was the round, a lot quicker than normal. So we'll go to the standings, which I don't know why we do it because it's not really that interesting. But I got to find pictures that I can send Paul. Otherwise, I don't feel like my week's complete. So Men's Pacific Cup, we got Australia first with 4 points and secured for the final. New Zealand second with no points, and Tonga third with no points. Winner meets in the final. This week. Women's Pacific Cup, Australia 4 points, 98 points differential. New Zealand second and Papua New Guinea third with no points. Winner of them goes into the final. We assume, bias included, that it will be New Zealand. So on both sides, I'm hoping it's New Zealand, Australia in the final. But I'm more convinced New Zealand will beat Papua New Guinea than I am New Zealand will beat Tonga.
Yeah.
Simon said this week's game to avoid relegation. That's tricky. That's what I said as well. But Paul corrected me before we went on air last week that you go to the promotion relegation match. So you have the potential to be relegated, but you would have to lose to the team that's facing you in that game. So you could be in that and then still win it and stay. but it's not the game you want to be in that day anyway. Then Men's Pacific Bowl, Fiji at the top at the moment with 2 points. Papua New Guinea also have 2 points though. So they just need a win this week against Cook Islands to secure their spot. If Cook Islands win, it's all going to be about points differential. So I think, the only way Fiji make it is if Cook Islands win, basically. But I'm assuming PNG make that promotion relegation match. Then Women's Pacific Bowl, Samoa at the top with 2 points. Fiji's on 2 points as well. Cook Islands, Tonga both on 0 and 0. And I don't know how their one works because they're only playing 3 games, but there's 4 teams. So I don't know how it works, but I am assuming Samoa is going to get that promotion relegation game right now. But that's it. So we'll go to questions. Did anyone else have questions, Paul?
No, we've handled the chats as we've gone through.
As we do.
This is why I missed last week. We're just storming through.
It's so fast.
Yeah.
I thought we went fast last week because you weren't here and we weren't rambling, but no. I'm going to go for my question to you first because I haven't got an answer for yours yet.
Okay.
So you asked me about which Kiwi rookie I was most looking forward to watch last weekend. You weren't here, so I said Kinney.
Yeah.
But my question to you now is, which rookie impressed or surprised you the most in that loss to the Kangaroos?
I'll say impressed rather than surprised, but Keanu Keeney. I thought aside from Lindsay Collins' try where he was defending up on the line, I don't know why he's defending up on the line, and he missed the front on tackle against Collins, who, as we saw, ran away 35 meters to score. That aside, it was warms the props heart, didn't it, Brad?
It did.
Aside from that, I thought Keanu Keeney did everything else really well. He looked dangerous every time he got the ball. He's got that. He's in the mold of the modern day fullback. They're quite small in size, but very electric. Similar to a Reece Walsh. Maybe without the ball playing as much, but I'm sure that'll come. He just looks electric and seemed to always be in the right spot and looks like a great support player. So I'm sure he'll keep growing and all going well, will have a long representative career in the black jersey.
Yeah, I already picked him for my player of the match, so I'm going with White.
Yeah, he was good too.
I said on the show last week when we were talking about the team namings that White's in there until Leo's back. Like, it's just I wrote him off before it even started, and he was one of the better forwards, in my opinion. It was fantastic, and he's been rewarded. Leo's back this week, and he's still there. He's actually bumped Joseph Tapani out of the lock spot. So,
why?
I think I haven't watched enough of him in NRL, so I don't know what his preferred position is. But
he's definitely both. I've seen him play. He's predominantly front row, but I've seen him play 13 as well. But I just don't know why he plays front row last week and then pretty much does a swap with Tapani this week, which I don't see the point of it.
I could only see the point of it if the front row were getting punished in the game against Australia and going, we need Joseph up front to help us out, but they didn't. But that could still be a thing going, we're up against Tonga this week. We need Joseph up front. I don't know. But before we go with your question, Bjorn jumped in with a question which I've highlighted for Paul. So see if Paul can find it. So his question was talking about the haka earlier. Did you guys? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Paul. You say it. You usually say these. Sorry, I'm stepping on your toes, mate.
Apologies. I'm eating. Anyway, okay. Sorry, on the press. So Bjorn asked, talking about the haka earlier. Did you guys ever do it for a game, Brad, on your world tour to Japan? You went to Japan playing?
I didn't play in Japan. I technically played in Japan, but it was at a school against school kids on just a lunchtime. I showed pictures to Richie and that. I'm rocking a Balmain Tigers jersey wearing full-length jeans and looking like John Olomu against these kids that were half my size.
You were twice the size of all those people.
They were all older than me too, mate. I was like 11, 12, and they were like 16-year-olds, and they were just all teeny tiny. But
Awesome.
that was like a school exchange. It wasn't to do with sport, but if I get an opportunity to play rugby, I'm going to play.
So you didn't even do it as a kind of not even before a game, just as part of just being there.
I'm about to answer the question, Paul. Come on, relax. Yes, I did perform my first 15 at Hauraki Plains College in the Thames Valley. Our first 15 had a haka, so we performed it at every home game and every final we were in. So I don't know how many times I did it, but I did it multiple. Wasn't like the Kamati one. It was one for our region. I can't remember the name of it, but yes, I have done it. And as most Kiwis, when they go overseas, I've done the Kamati haka drunken bars all over the place. So,
me too.
But did you have one at Rewa?
Or? Nah,
showing appropriate reverence to culture there.
Different times, Paul. It was different times.
No, we didn't do it for Manurewa High. We just got out in the field and played. So I can't say I've ever done one before a game. I've just done one in random situations like you, Brad.
I loved doing it before the game. It was, especially in a lot of my first 15 career, I was the bench rotation prop. So it was like a cool thing to do before the game, and then it feels weird. You get all hyped up and then you go stand on the sideline.
Did you, kind of on topic, did you see in the Samoan England game on the weekend, the Sivatau? Oh, that was awesome. Face to face.
I saw Corey. I was going to put in the news. Corey Parker complained about it.
Why?
He said he didn't like that the Samoans were making contact with the English players.
I didn't think it was. I thought it was pretty mutual. England were meeting it face to face, and it didn't get out of line. They seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah, Australians just don't get it. And Bjorn said, sorry, I'm stealing Paul's job again. Bjorn said, sound like Godzilla versus Japan during the lunch break. It pretty much was. It was actually crazy.
Like yeah.
They'd never played rugby before or knew what it was, which is crazy to think when you think about how everyone goes over to play rugby there now. So they had like a blue American football that I got to run around with, which was easier. You could hold it more in one hand, but it was fun. But yeah, your question to me, mate, before I derail us again.
And yes, I did throw this at you pretty late, Brad, so I understand if you don't have a...
Actually, before we get into this, you need to... we need to be careful with AI, because I just did a quick search on Google as to what Hauraki Plains College's hacker is called, and according to the Google AI, it's Kappa Hacker, and it's like no, that's not what the hacker's called. So yeah, I think AI doesn't always work, folks. Someone gets it wrong.
I don't know. I don't think there's any videos of when I was there, but I know on YouTube there are videos of my old high school's hacker. They all look so small now, but I was smaller back then too, I guess. But yeah. Your question to me, man.
Okay. With November 1st upon us, do you have anybody in mind you would like the Warriors to target? Leo Thompson aside, because I know that's your first and foremost.
Yeah, I've been trying to find out where he's staying this week while they're playing at Mount Smart, just so I can explain to him the benefits of joining the Mighty Warriors. But I can't find the details. Man Crush is right, Paul. We'd get in trouble like when Ben Murdoch-Masila was with us. I didn't put in the news, but on one of the Australian radio shows talking about league, they said Tanner Boyd was touring the Warriors office today.
Really?
Which I hadn't heard any news of. He wasn't on my radar. I'm not saying that's my answer. I don't know. I haven't got a list of who the November 1st people, of ones we just know now. We talked about it a little bit today with Ruin Hammer. I wouldn't be upset at the Warriors throwing a cheeky bit at Ben Hunt. to fill an SJ gap until we've got others up there. I think a Luke Metcalf, Ben Hunt combo could work. I'm clutching at straws. He would never come here. I don't see it. I think it's just as likely as if Millie Elliott joined the Warriors women's team. It's never going to happen. But yeah, that's the only one off the top of my head because we don't. A Gutho, Ryan Pippenhausen, I don't think we need more fullbacks to add to the argument of who should be the fullback for the Warriors. I can't think of any other halves is where I feel they need the most help.
That's very interesting then that Tanner Boyd's is there solid where did you read that Tanner Boyd had come here? I've not heard that.
It was on one of the Scenes Australia shows. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Danny Wedler, if that's how you say his name.
Thoughts on that?
I don't mind it. He's a talented player. He's been in my fantasy team many a year. If that's anything to go by. It depends what they want to do with him. I'm trying to find it now, but I can't see it.
Play him on the pitch. I don't think they want to clean the toilets. Let's be honest.
Oh, come on now. But he's a guy that can play in the halves. He can play at hooker. If they decide maybe they want a Boyd Metcalf combo in the halves, or they want him as their 14 because he's more versatile. I don't know. Or he's looking for a job. He might just be sounding out and seeing what they've got on offer and if he's even interested. Don't know.
I mean, he is versatile, but then we have Shania Harris-Davida, who's also versatile and sort of covers the same positions as Tanner. I think Tanner covers the halves and hooker pretty much the same as CHT.
Yeah, and Bjorn said, no, Brad, not Danny W. Not sure I'd go off what he says. It might not have been him. It's just when I was thinking about it, I read articles from him today. So it might just be I've got his name in there. It could all be lies. We normally see pictures. Remember the Capewell situation. But, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. But, yeah, I honestly can't think of anyone other than the Ben Hunt thing just because we need or Ezra Mam. Why don't we go with Ezra Mam? I don't think we do drug testing on the sides of the road here. So
I'll take him. I'd take him.
So we'll go on to week 3 now, starting with the Kiwis Tonga game, which is at Go Media Stadium. It's Saturday, right? Saturday, yeah. 8 o'clock on Saturday. Paul, if you can bring up the picture. I normally give you the home side, which I'm going to regret this time, but give us the Kiwis.
Okay, fullback Keanu Kini retains his fullback spot. Wingers Jermaine Sako, Will Warbrick. The centres Timoko and Peter Hiku. The halves Chans, Nicol Klustad, Sean Johnson. Forward pack James Fisher-Harris, Phoenix Crossland, Joey Tapine, Isaiah Papali'i, Scott Sorensen, Naufahu White. Interchange bench Cody Nikarima, Griffin Neem, Marata Niokore, Leo Thompson. So Leo Thompson comes in for Jordan Ricky.
Yeah.
And otherwise it's pretty much
the same team. Just White and Tapine switched. That's really the only other change. I'm happy with the team. If it was me, I thought he played okay, but I would be moving Chance to centre for Hiku and putting Cody at 6, which
you don't have any fears of Cody at 6 having those forwards running at him.
I do, but I also have fears that there's only one kicker, and we probably don't need as much kicking against Tonga as we would have needed for the Kangaroos. I don't know, but I feel the last thing we want is to win this game, make the final, and then have them go, okay, now we're going to put Cody at 6, and then go rather than having a few games to work together. Or they might just stick with Chance the whole way, but there needs to be another kicking option. So again, the other counter to that is just make sure you bring Cody on earlier. So, yeah, at least as someone, because you know what Tonga are like. They're just going to target Sean all day.
Yep.
And make sure he can't kick. But yeah, other than that, I'm happy with it. It's great to see Leo back after his rubbish suspension. But yeah, it's going to be a hell of a battle against a very good-looking Tongan team, which I will attempt to read now. So at fullback, we've got Lihi Hopewati. On the wings, we've got Daniel Tupou and Siona Katoa. Centres, we've got Moses Suli and Paul Alamotti. Halves, we've got Tui Lolahia and Isaiah Katoa. Front row, we've got Adam Fanor-Blake, Savili Havili, Felice Kafusi. Second row, we've got Hamoli Olaguatu, Elise Katoa. I'm butchering their names now, mate. And then 13, Jason Pomalolo. Bench, we've got Sonny Luke, Satili Tupanua, Tanela Paseka, and Sua Wong.
You did well, Brad. You did well.
Yeah. Except for Katoa, who I've said many times. I couldn't say his name properly. Kolomatangi has been dropped this week because his partner is about to give birth. So that's why he is not in the team. Because I sort of went, it's weird to see him not there. And then I saw an update saying that was the reason why. But should be an absolute cracker of a game in front of a sea of red at Mount Smart Stadium. I was going to get tickets and then I waited too long. And now all the good tickets are gone and chosen to stay at home with the partner to watch it. And she's going on a holiday the next day. So it'll be a good time to just sit there and chill out with her as best as I can chill out when it comes to watching rugby league. But who you picking? I know we're not doing tips, but.
Yeah. I feel like this game will be really competitive. I'm going to give it to the Kiwis. Home ground. Well, you can't even really call it home ground advantage, but it's
not home ground, man. That Tonga Mount Smart is Tonga's home ground, unfortunately for us. But,
I just have a feeling. I think I thought Sean went quite well, and I just think.
Yeah, he did. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. My partner, when we were watching it, saying he can play next year. I don't understand. He just needed a rest. He's good now.
I know. I got that same feeling watching him. Yeah. It's a bummer that he's retired because he's still got it. But I just think we have the edge in certain positions, halfback being one of them. So
so we'll go on to all the matches in this round.
Who were you backing?
Kiwis.
Oh, nice.
I might have been more swayed if Ben was playing for Tonga, but Adam's dead to me now, so I'm going Kiwis all the way, and Leo's back. So, but yeah, I think it'll be tight. I wouldn't be that confident throwing money down. It could go either way, in the cliche Richie sitting on the fence type of situation. But yeah, so Saturday we have Samoa versus Fiji in the women's at Mount Smart Stadium. And then we have the Kiwis versus Tonga in the men's at Mount Smart. I'm assuming Samoa will beat Fiji in that game. And yeah, we both pick Kiwis. Then on Sunday, we have the Papua New Guinea Orchids versus the Kiwi Ferns. I think Kiwi Ferns will do that. And then we have Papua New Guinea versus Cook Islands. I think Papua New Guinea will do that.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So yeah. It's good. I was really upset. I had the games mixed up. I thought the Mount Smart game was Kiwi Ferns Gillaroos, which I was going to go to no matter what. And then, it wasn't to be. You wait. I was thinking about it, Paul. Sorry, I'm segueing again. You wait till the Warriors are back in the NRLW and I get to talk about the first Warriors-Roosters game at Mount Smart when that happens.
It's not me you've got to worry about. It's
my last game I'm allowed to go to at Mount Smart.
The last game you're alive for.
I could take Adam Elliott.
So you guys, I mean, both of you gone for the Kiwis over Tonga, but you're expecting it to be close. The TAB have got the Kiwis at $1.46 and Tonga at $2.75. So the Kiwis as quite strong favourites. on the
They're racist, Paul.
TAB.
They're racist, Paul.
You're not racist.
TAB's racist.
Okay, well, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Well, maybe
I know. I wasn't calling you.
Me reading out the TAB numbers makes me racist.
No,
but,
I'm not calling you racist. TAB is. Normal days, I would say that would be fair because the Tongan team don't have halves. But at the moment, the Kiwis are playing with one half as well. So I think it evens out. It all depends on that forwards battle. That Tongan team can be so deadly. So it's similar to what I said about Paul last week when I said about the Kiwis and the Kangaroos. Say, like, it's either going to be a close win for the Kiwis or they'll get blown off the park. It was in the middle. I got it completely wrong, but I feel that could be the same. If Tonga win, it could be close. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going Kiwis. Sean wants to win in his final game at Mount Smart ever.
I'm not saying you can go for them. I'm just pointing out what the TAB is saying compared to you guys thinking it's close up.
I don't like them at the moment. They're taking all my money. So, and Bjorn said, I'm not sure it's Adam Elliott you need to worry about, Brad.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True. But anything else you want to add, mate? Because that's it. We went longer than last week because I got to vamp a bit.
Yeah. No. Not really. Don't have anything else to add. It's a quiet rugby league time. Apart from the internationals, that's why we raced through.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it. There's like 2 episodes for the season left because we'll review week 3 next week, and then we'll review our final for the year. We'll be reviewing the finals of the Pacific Internationals. So only have to put up with us for 2 more weeks. Paul will get some much needed rest from us. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on rugby league, tune into our show next week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. here on Facebook or YouTube. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio or do the same on iHeartRadio and Spotify if you want to watch it at a later date. Thank you again for joining me this week, Richie, and cheers for your help in the background, Paul. And good night, everyone.